Okay, it's recording. Hello, I'm back home. I only have the time now. It's 1:10 a.m. Uh, lights, computer, internet. It's all functional. I'm really happy. I just came home 30 minutes ago. I spent the whole day driving around and I visited a few people in a few different places. The damage that Hurricane Sandy has caused. Some of the damage is permanent. The economy is affected, and it's very bad. Very, very bad. I'm actually very curious if, I'll be very, I would be very surprised if people don't actually leave. Because it seems like a lot of people are not aware that we live near an ocean. I live near an ocean. There's an ocean about a mile away from me in the northeast with New York City. And especially the people down in Middle Jersey, South Jersey. I can't, I cannot, I don't know. I, it, I wouldn't be, I don't understand why property is expensive down there, or at least it has some kind of value, because I think it would be primarily reserved for thrill seekers and maybe artists who need that kind of inspiration from nature. I don't know. I didn't want to talk about this. I kind of went off on something else, um, but yeah, like 95% of my town is still out of power. I'm one of the lucky few people who just regained their electricity. And then it's questionable for how long it's going to be like this because there's so much work that needs to be done. The whole infrastructure was almost destroyed. That's my perception of it. It's a very old infrastructure that we have with the electrical system, and there was talk about this about a year ago somewhere in Congress about upgrading the entire infrastructure of the United States, especially the electrical grid, because it's so archaic. Um, I'm talking with a couple of friends, and um, there's absolutely no reason to not have the electrical wiring all underneath the ground to prevent trees coming down and hitting the electrical poles and knocking down entire power grids and causing havoc, causing just causing what this caused. Now, one of the problems I'm still having, I had today, is there are many gas stations that are closed, and the ones that are open that have electricity don't have any gas. Now, I don't think that we're going to be receiving any gasoline shipments for a little while, um, and it makes you, well, in a way, I think it's good because it there are some positive things from it because it put some people, it gave a lot, I think it gave some people a little bit of perspective on what is actually important. Um, all the little possessions that they have don't mean anything. It's gasoline, food, people, shelter, electricity, hot water. There's a town south of here that I'm going to be tasked with representing called Little Ferry, and I went to it about a week ago. I needed to do some things there, and that town is actually flooded because it's weird. The town is in a dip. Geographically speaking, it looks like as if it's in a dip, and there's a river that runs along it, or something along those lines. And that river connects into, I believe, the Delaware River, and that connects into the ocean. And the water level rose. That's what happens. And it flooded everything. And people are panicking and scared and despair. And I was thinking why, as I was watching this on the news, and I thought to myself, oh, there must have been some sort of contingency plan. And by watching it on the news, what they showed a little bit, I didn't really investigate or research it. and I'm actually unable to actually get in it. I tried to get into it through a path. There's a lot of roads that are closed, and a lot of these little towns that we have here actually just, as of tonight, issued curfews and suspended Halloween, which, tomorrow's Halloween, and what the kids go out and they trick or treat. The kids go out and they trick or treat. They won't be able to do that tomorrow because there are still some dangers outside. It's a really bad thing that happened. But a lot of it could have been prevented. A lot of it could have been prevented with just. And if you're asking how, well, as driving around, I didn't see a lot of debris from people's property. A lot of the debris that I saw flying around was government property. It was the signs that they placed that were improperly placed. They weren't dug deep down. They weren't fortified properly with cement. They were just out in the ground a couple of maybe 2 feet. And of course, a strong wind came, pulled them out, and it turned into like a weapon. A lot of the traffic lights are just like. They need to properly build these types of things, and they don't. Well, in some cases they do, but it's questionable when. You have to question who actually built that, the one that is perfectly fine, and who built that, the one that ripped off from the ground and destroyed a lot of different things. I was actually thinking, I made a short video about that, but this would be a great idea for, well, this would be an excellent opportunity for all government agencies and all local governments and county governments, even the state government and federal government, to examine the people's worth that are employed by the government, and they get paid from the taxpayer, on their work ethic. Because I can't imagine that this is the time where everybody who is associated with the government is out there, or they should be out there, working, making sure that things are getting fixed, and then making sure crime doesn't just swallow everything, because right now this is the time where it's very easy to commit crime. It's all dark. There's no security, there's no electricity. You can rob a bank right now. There's no electricity. And there's limited resources of police officers doing other things. So you need to have as many people as possible out securing everything. Not to mention fixing the problems that need to be fixed with the electricity, and removing debris off the road. I think the biggest problem right now is the electricity. The flooding of Little Ferry, and the flooding of different areas, it just naturally goes away when the water recedes. And if the water doesn't recede, you just need to get a pump and pump out the water into a lake or a river where it's supposed to be. I'm actually very grateful I'm alive. I have to put together my video with that I did with my camera, and there were some dicey moments in my I guess it's my documentary of my experience. I didn't really film anything all that extravagant, even though I could have, I wanted to, but the camera that I was using was not sufficient to the task. And I did want to drive around and take some photos, and I wanted to. I saw a lot of different things I wanted to take photos of, especially during the nighttime. But my camera was not sufficient to the task, and during the daytime it's a little uncomfortable because there was a lot of traffic of different cars, so I couldn't just randomly pull over as I could when it's nighttime, where I'm basically the only car on the road, that and police officer cars. And they're usually doing, going back and forth, doing different calls, so they're not there sitting there relaxing, so to speak. I had a small incident with a buddy of mine today. He lives with roommates, and I went to their house because I knew they had electricity, and I knew they had hot water. And I think I called him, and he didn't pick up. And I went there, and I called one of his roommates. She didn't pick up. I saw their car. I decided to go to the house to see maybe they're home. They were home. I asked to use the shower. I went and I used the shower. And as I was getting ready to leave, he came in and just flipped out. He's like, "What the fuck? Why are you doing here? What are you doing here? Etc. 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 Get the fuck out. Do you use my shower? Blah 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 blah." Just completely went ape shit on me, and just it's such a uh, it's just so insulting, really. Not insulting. It's just it's so sad. I think it's just sad, not for me, but for him, that he would do something like that, or he would say, just I don't know, just. I mean, I can justify this in a million different ways, but it's just so sad that he needs a scapegoat in life. He needs to blame somebody else for his own mistakes. And that's the sadness in it. There's some people who they blame other people for their own mistakes, or they blame other people for not necessarily their own mistakes, but for their own cards in life that they were dealt. Um, it's like a person who's upset at, hmm, it's like you being upset because you're not born into, hmm, how can I explain this? It's like being upset when somebody else has some. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain this anymore. I used to be able to explain this when I was younger, but now it's all different. It's just we're all born in different places in different parts of the world to different people, and we all meet different people as we grow up and we shape. And different things and different experiences and different opportunities come to each and every one of us. But to look at somebody else and to say that they have more opportunities, or they have something more than you, I think is very, very, very wrong. Because in the context of, hmm, well, let's say with my political ambition, at some point I will have children. Now, given the nature of my work and the nature of my, uh, I guess the nature of my work, I guess the requirement of just having an immense uh, capacity of information in my head of everything, um, it would be easier for me to be a better parent, and my children are gonna have more opportunities because of my because of my work. Mm, not because they will have handouts or because of just who I am, but because of what I will be able to pass on to them um, through them spending time with me and I spending time with them. There's going to be a natural learning experience that takes place where the things that they go through in life as they grow up, I will have many, many different perspectives on as a result of seeing and knowing a large body of people. Because, I mean, ideally, I'm gonna have to need to know about 200,000 people. Ideally. Now that's ideally, that's not the reality, but ideally, yes. Uh, I would like to know the the maximum of all the people, but it's not a question of my limit on that. It's the question of the willingness of the people willing to participate and willing to just go up a little bit because, well, that's what needs to happen. Um, I was talking to my friend's stepfather today, and we were talking about a lot of different things about the salary of the cops, the salary of the teachers, uh, the fraud of it, the fraud of people not paying their taxes and because they make deals to get paid in cash or and not like little jobs but serious jobs. Um, Not serious jobs, but you know, jobs where people are making 100, $200,000 a year. They get paid in cash and they lie to the IRS and that whole scam, that whole thing that I actually haven't given it much thought or that idea hasn't come to me yet. And he had an excellent suggestion to how to solve it. If everybody used the card to pay for everything and they got paid through this card, it'd be very easy to tax people and it'd be very easy to make sure everybody's paying uh, their taxes because it's not fair for this person to always pay his taxes when there are other people who are not paying their taxes. And then it becomes, why is he paying his taxes? So should he stop paying his taxes? No. All the different little loopholes people use. Ugh. I don't know why it's designed that way though. There's always these little bits of information that once you find, you kind of get an upper advantage on other people. Once you get these little bits of information from the government and how to do certain things, you can get away with a lot of different things once you piece all those little pieces together. I don't know why they exist. It's as if it's designed for people to go through some kind of stage to get to know these little bits of information. I don't want to talk about them right now. I spoke about them before. Oh, I think they're very prevalent. Um, oh, in regards to the Hurricane Sandy, we had well, somebody knows somebody whose house, I met these people actually, so I kind of know them too. Their house burned down. Um, they had a generator running overnight, and something happened with the generator where it exploded or it caught on fire, and they were sleeping. And half the house was on fire by the time they woke up, and they woke up, they realized the house was on fire, they ran out of their home. They called the fire department, and this was last night, and during the storm, and they waited outside their house as it burned, and the fire department never showed up because it was either they couldn't get there or whatever reason they didn't show up. And the house burned down to a crisp. Everything inside the house burned down. There's no remains whatsoever. And they have another house, which was down the shore, that got also destroyed. So they lost 2 homes. It's terrible. Just bad luck. All the businesses down the shore destroyed. But in a way, it makes you think. I don't know, even New York City, with the whole flooding of the system, that's happened before with the subway. It's gotten flooded because New York City is built. It's right near the ocean. There's very. It's not like on a. They didn't think to maybe build a wall, or the Japanese built walls, but they got knocked down during the tsunami that they had. There were cities that had built up these great walls. I don't know, 20 feet, 30 feet, and they got knocked over by the tsunami. So even a building of the walls might not be so effective to uh, protect in the future against storms that are going to be 100 times in strength, and we have to be able to think that way, in that sense that there is the potential for a storm to be 100 times the strength of this one. We're very young as people. We don't know anything about nature and what the capability of it is. We're very, very young. We haven't really been on this earth collecting information, collecting data, studying the weather for a very long time. This is something that's new. I think we've only been studying weather for, I don't know, 200 years? I don't know. Collecting the data and the information and examining all of it through the advances in science and technology, allowing us to even get inside the storm. The machines that they send out in tornadoes, during a storm, they have the U.S. Navy or the Air Force. They have a special plane, a weather plane, and it flies through the storm. It's capable of doing something, and they gather data off it. That's I mean, how long have we been doing something like that? Not very long. So we don't really know anything. But it's good. I see a lot of people coming together and helping each other out. Uh, for the most part, that's happening. There's a lot of unity of people that is occurring. When I last night, yesterday, when I was in Middle Jersey and I decided to drive back home, I was sitting in my car and just planning my road back, my trip back, and listening to the announcement that the governor was making. And somebody came over. I was near a house, and they asked me, "Everything okay?" I was like, "Yeah, everything's fine. I'm just about to head out." And, they took the time to walk outside their home and inquire if everything's okay because there's a storm coming and there's someone parked in the car. And today, when I was down there again visiting it to see how everything was, I decided to You know, there was somebody else who was pulled over on the side with emergency lights, and I stopped and I'm like, hey, is everything okay? People do these types of things more often in times of uh, I guess, of unfortunate times when negative events occur. But for the most part, I mean, it's projected that there won't be electricity for most people for at least 7 days. I'm actually surprised that Fort Lee has only very few parts of that have electricity. But going back to the gas station, so I found two gas stations that have gasoline on Route 17 near Saddle River, and they only take cash because their whatever's broken. Sucks. I'm a little bit relieved I can do some work now, but there's still some. It sucks with the rest of the people because I'm also concerned about them. And a lot of people are still scared, and just the whole idea of people being scared during a storm doesn't. I don't like that at all. I don't think people should be scared at all. We we shouldn't be so. I don't know. When a storm comes, you just have to. I mean, we build everything. I think we can protect ourselves a little bit better. Basically, we don't have to come to the point of people just being scared and sitting in their homes. There's also some positive thing out of this that, well, in some people it maybe gives some thought on, uh, well, we kind of neglect this planet. We don't really do a good job um, keeping this planet clean. There is some effort, but we pollute a lot. We contaminate this planet very much. We are probably the worst living organism on this planet in terms of our contamination. No other animal honestly contaminates because all of it is just biological. We have a lot of artificial and yeah, we have a lot of artificial stuff that we make. And we just dump it. I mean, I spoke to people that, you know, people told me that 30 years ago it was a lot worse because there was no regulation on anything. You can do anything. You can dump, put uranium in the ocean, and it'd just be normal. Something along those lines, not uranium because you wouldn't be able to get it. Um, I wonder if it reduced the prices on property. I think property is very, very expensive in some places. I don't think it should be expensive at all. It should be cheap. Land is cheap. There's plenty of land. It shouldn't be expensive. Anyways, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to sleep and then hopefully tomorrow I'm gonna have electricity, and I'm gonna get some things done. I have to organize some things about my campaign. Oliver's waiting for me to get some things sent to him, and I need to do some research. I need to get back to PayPal because there's a problem there, and I need to be putting more work. You just need to do more work. I need to maybe throw more stuff out. I need to reorganize some of the stuff and get myself a table. See if I could fix my desktop computer. If not, I'm gonna have to purchase myself a new one because it's very limiting for me to do. My eyes are actually beginning to hurt looking at this monitor. It's so small. It's hurting my eyes, and I think it's affecting my. It's not good, basically, to be looking at a very small monitor for long periods of time. I'm gonna go, but everything's okay on my side in terms of Hurricane Sandy. But honestly, I mean, I'll put it together, and maybe somebody will watch it. But when I was driving on the turnpike, um, and there were strong gusts of wind, I thought I was gonna die because for that moment I thought a tornado would appear right in front of me, and it would take my car, pick it up, and I imagined myself looking down at the ground and quickly rising up into the air, and being in my car like panicking and absolutely nothing I could do. Plus there was these weird flashes in the sky. There were red flashes, there were blue flashes. And I realized when I got here there were blue flashes, and I thought to myself, well, maybe the blue flashes are when there's a warning for a flash flood, and the red flash is maybe a warning for a tornado. Now, we haven't really had to our very young existence uh, events of a tornado here, but we're young. That's the thing. We're young. We don't know. Alright, I'm gonna go. Adios. Everything's okay. Everything's okay. Everything will be rebuilt better, stronger. I'll have to ensure that actually happens as well, and I'll have an opportunity to participate in that. And I would love that to be my focus, but it has to be education, and it has to be criminal justice. And I hope there will be people who are going to be involved with the actual infrastructure as much as I plan to be involved with educational and the criminal justice system. So I don't have to worry about uh, spending my limited resources on that, and I could just rely on their efforts and be able to trust them that they know what they're doing, and they're doing the right things. And well, probably vote yay for their ideas, or I'll vote nay. I'll probably put something together, something short, just explain a little bit more for the people who watch me exactly what, like, once I'm in the position, what's actually going to be taking place. like realistically what is happening there. And it's quite, yeah, I was explaining that to a family member, and it's kind of pretty interesting. Oh, sorry. Okay, adios. I stop.